welcome back to BT here on this Wednesday morning. The Movember movement in full swing. A lot of great stashes we've been seeing, a lot of great money being raised. And Dr. John Olaf, professor over at UBC, here to discuss the Movember movement and specifically the idea of mental health. When we talk about Movember, how much of the focus, how much of the funds goes towards the idea of mental health?
Well, over the last couple of years, it's been pretty close to 30 million being put into mental health in Canada, men's mental health, and it's unprecedented.
So we hear this idea of a large sum of money being donated. The specific progress, the projects being worked on, what are you seeing and what changes has occurred?
Well, we were funded last year and they funded some network projects, and so that brings together some of the best minds in Canada to work on issues around men's depression, men's suicide. And I think we are starting to see an impact. A lot of community-based programs, for example, our program does 5 projects that all look at men in community-based situations where we're trying to help in terms of reducing suicide, but also intervening around depression.
And when we talk about depression, the episodes of anxiety surrounding it, how do the symptoms differ for men and women?
Yeah, I think there's good evidence that men often will present with irritability, anger, anxiety, and sometimes substance overuse, over-involvement in work and sports. And those things can look a little bit different to how women might present, but I think also we don't necessarily capture them on generic screening tools for depression. And so we need to be sort of cued to the idea that guys might present differently with depression.
And we take a look at these symptoms, and then there's the question of treatment. And what do you see as the trend? Are we going more towards medication or more towards other ideas of cognitive behavioral therapy?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there are some men that would prefer medications, but I think there is a bit of a trend towards self-management. And what lends itself to self-management are things like skills that you can learn about how to think differently, about challenges and problems, about strategies for connecting with other people as protection, because we know self-isolation is one of the major problems. So I think a lot of guys like to self-manage. So I think the cognitive behaviour therapy, the talk therapy, the mindfulness, I think can be really, really helpful.
And the dialogue behind it is so important. We were teasing before the break the idea of the Man Up Against Suicide exhibition. Tell us about this and the impact it's having on the community.
Well, it was an idea about bringing in photographs from people who had lost a man to suicide, and also guys who'd experienced some suicidal thoughts, plus or minus attempts. And we asked them to take photographs about their experience. It was an amazingly powerful kind of event. What happened was we had all these photographs produced by people. They added captions and they were featured in an exhibition here with Foster Eastman down in his gallery. Ran for a month. We had over 400 people at the launch of that event. And what was so powerful about it was that it opened up the space for a conversation about suicide and depression amongst men. It just created the room to do that, and it was so powerful in that respect because it was unprecedented in terms of it just happened.
Well, the exhibition creates an arena of safety with this discussion. If anybody's watching right now and think that they want to reach out to someone to support, what is the best starting point to create that accessibility? Yeah,
I think asking someone, are you doing okay? How are you doing? And just connecting with them, I think is a terrific way. I think the permission to talk, the permission to say how you're really feeling is something that men do respond to, but it's on all of us to create that space and to create that norm that they can talk with us.
It's a powerful message and a powerful movement. John, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks a lot.